today. I'd like to welcome all of you to the 2024 7th Congressional District Crime Roundtable. We are building upon the success of last year's productive roundtable, during which we addressed the surge in catalytic converter theft, combating organized retail crime, and the formidable challenges that law enforcement encounters in combating the escalating crimes in our communities. Today, we're here to talk about the accelerating the drive for a safer New Jersey. What I hope will emerge from this discussion today is a picture of how all of us, federal, state, and local officials and concerned citizens, can work together to prevent violence and crime within our communities. In these challenging times, it is paramount that we prioritize the safety of our local communities and our law enforcement personnel so that we may ensure a safe, secure environment where officers who put their lives on the line to protect the public are adequately supported, equipped, and empowered to carry out their duties. By addressing and curbing recent crime outbreaks, we're not only safeguarding the well-being of our businesses and children, also creating an environment that's conducive to business growth. When our streets are secure, businesses can thrive, leading to economic prosperity for every New Jerseyan. Let us unite in our efforts to fortify our neighborhoods, ensuring a safe and prosperous future for our neighbors, our children, and our children's children. Regrettably, the peaceful ambience of New Jersey's suburbs has been disrupted by a concerning surge in property crimes, ranging from home break-ins to the brazen theft of luxury vehicles, and even to small local businesses who are falling victims to robberies. Too many Garden State families now grapple with the distressing reality that their sense of security within their own communities is under threat. As we reflect on these disconcerting trends, it has become evident that a number of policies that defund the police movement and a lack of prosecution have contributed to this rise in theft. Consequences of these policies ripple throughout our neighborhoods, leaving our residents and our businesses vulnerable. I believe that public safety is a non-negotiable public priority, and a push to defund police undermines the critical role that law enforcement plays in maintaining protection. Instead of stripping resources, we should be working towards more constructive reforms and increased investment in local law enforcement, ensuring that they have the proper tools and training to keep our neighborhoods secure. As your representative, I am working to address these concerns in our communities, co-sponsoring legislation aimed at fortifying our neighborhoods, enhancing law enforcement capabilities, and ensuring that those who perpetuate such offenses face the full weight of justice. In response to the troubling trend of district attorneys declining to prosecute crimes, I have taken a firm stance by co-sponsoring the Prosecutors Need to Prosecute Act, a crucial legislative initiative designed to bring accountability and transparency by requiring reporting on instances where prosecutors fail to charge criminals with committing violent acts. Those prosecutors who fail to report those decisions will risk losing priority funding for their districts. According to the National Insurance Crime Bureau, catalytic converter theft has seen a staggering increase of 1,215% between 2019 and 2022, with New Jersey ranking 5th overall for stolen converters. This underscores the urgent need for the Preventing Auto Recycling Theft, which is called the PART Act, to pass the House of this Congress. The PART Act aims to reduce catalytic converter theft by marking, identifying information on certain car parts, addresses how the parts are purchased, and strengthens enforceability of catalytic converter theft for local law enforcement. I'm proud to co-sponsor the PART Act, and I'm working with my colleagues to get this across the floor so we can combat the illegal movements of these valuable parts. Police in Westfield are cracking down on car theft after they've reported a 60% increase in stolen vehicles in 2020 from 2022. It's the second highest total ever recorded. I applaud Westfield's response with passing Resolution 61-2024, resolution calling on Governor Phil Murphy and the New Jersey State Legislature to swiftly adopt a multifaceted framework that aligns with initiatives to combat vehicle theft, safeguard communities, and ensure swift and fair justice for victims of car thefts. Additionally, According to the data from the New Jersey State Police, we saw another increase in auto thefts last year from 2023 with 16,605 car thefts. That is 707 more than 2022 at 15,898. I'd like to commend the Summit Police Department on their announcement of a new initiative offering personal home security assessments to any resident who is requesting one. The department's offering of these assessments is one valuable strategy aimed at reducing thefts by proactively implementing preventative measures at each home. It is imperative that we address these challenges head on, fortifying our commitment to safety and well-being in our communities. It is proactive solutions such as these that help ensure that our neighbors have proper tools and training to keep you safe and secure. I've invited all of you to participate in this discussion because I'm interested in hearing all of your experience and your ideas about what else can be done to improve the safety of our communities. So please use this roundtable as an informative exchange. It's intended to be wide-ranging and sometimes freewheeling discussion in order to improve all of our lives. I'm thankful to each of you participating. I'm excited to see so much interest in the subjects we're examining today. I'm going to start with Mayor Assay of Berners. If you can talk a little bit about what you were doing, what you're experiencing in Berners.
Thank you, Congressman Kean, for creating the platform and the opportunity to speak. On January 23rd, 3 weeks after I was sworn as Bernards Township Mayor, I made an official statement at our Township Committee meeting on the public safety topic, specifically pertaining to the residents' concerns of burglaries, break-ins, and thefts that occurred in our town. Bernards Township has been noted for many years as being one of the safest towns in New Jersey by independent organizations, but our residents are concerned by the uptick of home burglaries associated with car thefts that began in the summer of 2023. In Bernards Township, resident safety is our highest concern and expectation of our community. While this issue affects many towns and flows from policy choices made at higher levels of government over which Bernards itself has no control, I assured residents that we took immediate action and continue to take action to protect our residents. As I attended a police presentation, one of many, on January 18th, to a neighborhood that was repeatedly targeted by criminals who burglarized homes to steal cars, I learned that one of our detectives shared that a Bernards Township stolen vehicle was indeed identified in Ghana, signaling the potential federal jurisdiction and need to stop the exportation and thus disrupting the demand of these stolen vehicles. Let me highlight the action we've taken to date and what's in process. From our police department, under the leadership of our police chief, John Berger, who is on this call, our police department increases patrols immediately to deter and combat these sorts of crimes in locations at the times they tend to occur. This includes our chief and his leadership also completing early hour patrols. Second, our police department created and implemented 3 new tools for our community. This includes a home security checklist, awareness of police car features, and City Protect, a new online platform. Many neighborhood presentations at the request of residents have been completed by our police department, including a town hall that's being held tonight at 7 p.m. From a township committee perspective, we immediately authorized and brought forward the planned purchase of the plate readers, APLRs, that are in the months-long process of installation. The township committee is also in preliminary budget discussions that include the likely increase in headcount to our police department and other safety-related investments. We are working in process to adopt a town ordinance that protects our residents, as well as working with our state assemblywomen from LD 21, Matsakudis and Munoz, the Assembly Bill 83806, to support legislation that they have recently introduced. From a mayor perspective, I held a Zoom call with Senator Bramnick on January 25th to discuss the state perspective on this topic. On February the 5th, the mayors from the Somerset Hills towns, which I believe some are on this call as we speak, representing Bedminster, Bernards Township, Bernardsville, Bridgewater, Far Hills, and Peapack Gladstone met, and we formed the Somerset Hills Public Safety Committee, where we are all working together with our police chiefs to synergize our local efforts on this topic, including meeting later today. Lastly, I'm engaged with the Conference of Mayors, who the president is also on this call, on this particular topic and working to develop a subcommittee where we need to address the issue of bail reform and programs for these at-risk youth that are participating in these car thefts. I have to thank our outstanding police department led by Chief Berger for their tireless work day in and day out of keeping our residents safe. I hope that you can see that this issue is something I'm passionate about. While many of us think that Bernards Township is an affluent town, I know it to be a group of people who have worked really hard to earn what they have. They deserve the right to live without fear of someone coming into their home, especially with their family present, shattering their sense of personal security, of feeling safe in their own home, for a criminal to just take their things without any consequences. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like now to turn to the Hunterdon County Sheriff, Fred Brown. Can you talk a little bit about some of the things that you are doing in Hunterdon County, as well as your lead priorities in the county?
Certainly, and thank you, Congressman, for inviting me and allowing me to speak. As you know, Hunterdon County is an extremely safe place to live and raise a family. We have some of the best police officers in the state to help to keep us safe. It is important, however, to recognize that we rely on every citizen to keep their eyes open and watch out for each other, which goes with the old see something, say something, because that's the way that we can stop a lot of this. Because of Route 78 passing through our county, it's easy and quick for criminals to get to our county, many times steal a car and get back on 78 and exit quickly. Obviously, many of the methods to stop that are as simple as locking their car doors. And even though they may not leave the keys in, if they leave a car open, suspects or perpetrators can go in and hit a garage door opener and then enter a house and look and search for keys, which is even more dangerous. So, we rely on getting the message out to people, and I've had numerous meetings with mainly senior citizen groups and explain some of these safety items to them. It's just, and it's actually obvious too, with the license plate readers. We have actually made arrests in Reddington and Tewksbury Township to where the perpetrators have said they've been told not to come to Hunterdon County because the cops are there and are waiting for them. So that's been a big help to us. We do all that we absolutely can with extra patrols. There's more license plate readers being deployed. And, but the main thing is to have extra patrols out and to keep your eyes open. And we've also had a rise in catalytic converters stolen from parked vehicles. Even some of the county vehicles have been hit. It's very difficult to prevent. Motion lights and cameras are a big help. But also, Governor Murphy signed a new law last year requiring scrap yards to verify where their converters come from before they're being sold. So that certainly is a step in the right direction. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention just before going the scams, because so much money is lost in Hunterdon County through people being scammed out of their money. Everything from being told that their child's been arrested and they need bail money. Just want to remind everybody that anybody that asks for a gift card or a money card over the either telephone or internet, just hang up to them and report it to your local police. Again, thank you, Congressman, for having me.
No, thank you, Sheriff. Thank you for those important insights and recommendations. I would now like to recognize Washington Mayor Matthew Morello. Thank you for joining us on the call.
Oh, thank you, Congressman. So Washington Township in Morris County, we're in the western tip of Morris County. While we don't have any highways that go through our municipality, we are surrounded by Route 206, 46, and 80. Many things that the sheriff said we have. Mostly every summer, we find that we have small groups of people that come from out of our town, out of our county, come down our highways and then go into our neighborhoods. We're a very rural town. We're about 43 square miles with only 18,000 people. So we're spread out where auto thefts tend to be a problem. From about 2020 to 2022, our area, not just our town, saw something to the effect of 100 to 110% increase in auto thefts. These small groups, many times having juveniles as part of their groups, would come down, steal the cars, and then would drive back. Part of the problem that we had, and some of this has been rectified, was the 2022 legislation or the opinion by the Attorney General's office, where our police officers were not able to pursue cars as they got back onto the highways. And this resulted in a very large uptick in stolen vehicles, especially luxury vehicles in our area. Thankfully, that has been changed. Which is allowing our police department to again pursue. But in conversations with our law enforcement and our police department under the direction of Chief Almer, we found that if juveniles were involved in any of these, it turns out that all of the hard work from our police department that might result in an arrest really didn't go anywhere because the entire case was remanded to the county that the juvenile resides in. So our police department and our detective bureau, which is one of the finest in Morris County, found that they were spending 8 to 10 hours just to get to an arrest, only to have it handed over to someone else and somewhere else. And as the Sheriff Brown said, also Mayor Assay, we have to deal with this bail reform issue in the state of New Jersey, where people are committing these crimes, stealing our property, and then getting put right back on the street. So in Washington Township, as I said, we've had these upticks. It has kind of leveled off, but it is something that we are very aware of. Many people that live out here have lived out here for many times, don't even lock their cars at night. So we have to educate our residents as to not do that. Lots of people have garage door openers. Thankfully, it hasn't resulted in any real property thefts because people can get in their cars and open the garage doors to their homes. But it is something that we educate our residents to every single summer as we get into the warmer months. And I want to thank you, Congressman, for allowing us to have an opportunity to have a forum like this where we can all exchange ideas and hopefully move towards a safer New Jersey. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Now I'd like to introduce Greenbrook Mayor Jim Van Ardsdale. Thank you for taking the time for the call, Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Congressman. I don't want to restate too much what my colleagues have mentioned, but I will, because we all kind of experience, some of the same issues. We have a 23-person police force headed by our good chief, Bill Coward, and I did have an opportunity to catch up with him this week before this call, so I'd have up to date information. Similar to what others have said, the residential burglaries, we've seen an uptick in that. Now, fortunately, we had a spurt in December of 23 where we had about 8 homes hit within a very short period of time, all in the same relative area. So what's interesting there is that, as I believe the sheriff had mentioned, many of these are now juveniles between 13 and 15 years old. And we all know the benefits to criminals who are underage and why that may be the case. But they'll pull into a neighborhood, 3 or 4 will get out. They'll just kind of spread out. The main car will go away, and then they steal whatever they can steal and either head into the woods and get picked up later, or frankly, steal a vehicle and drive away with that. So we have about 3 miles of Route 22, essentially cutting the north and south parts of our town in half. And interestingly, even though we have a number of businesses and car dealerships on Route 22, the primary areas that we're suffering with is in the residential homes. So either they're breaking into the homes, as I just mentioned, or they are stealing vehicles, whether the vehicles are open, or I think as the sheriff mentioned, they're breaking into the vehicles, hitting the garage door button, literally going into the house, which is incredibly frightening for anyone that may be in that house, grabbing a key fob and running away with the car. We also have some car burglaries, and that's essentially just, wallets stolen from cars that are open. So we are surrounded, for the benefit of those on the call, by Warren, Watchung, Dunellen, and North Plainfield. And we did apply there was a state grant about a year ago for the ALPR that was mentioned a few minutes ago. And the state, in my opinion, the grant was $10 million, which sounds like a lot, but it was used up fast. We didn't get any money, and many of the communities didn't get any money, but we don't need many. And I don't know whether this might rise to a federal grant of some sort, but I want to throw that out there because I don't think you can have enough of these. These are very useful tools. They're not deterrents per se, but they allow our police force and others to communicate with each other in real time. So not that we're looking to have, police cars chasing the perpetrators around all day, every day, but it allows them to communicate. And we have been able to take advantage of other readers that other towns have, But having more in towns, my community as well as our surrounding communities would be, extremely helpful. So I did want to mention that. I won't say that we've seen a slowing. I just think that essentially what happens is these communities, they travel in packs. We haven't been hit in the last month or so to any great degree, but that doesn't mean that they're not hitting other communities around us, and they just haven't made their way back to Greenbrook Township. So with that, I will let it go. But we have a great police force working hard. My fellow committee members are doing everything that we can. It's very important to keep the community aware and involved and engaged, because many of these can be stopped. But unfortunately, what happens is they don't go to one house, they go to the next one down. So with that, I'll stop, and I appreciate your time, sir.
No, thank you for your extraordinarily important insights and the information for the broader community. Now I'd like to turn to Westfield Councilman Mike Domogala. You talked a little bit about some of the things that are happening in Westfield and things you all are doing.
Thank you very much, Congressman. So essentially myself and 3 others are newly elected to the town council, and part of our platform was running on the fact that we wanted a safer community, a safer town. I'm a father of 3. I have a daughter and 2 sons. And the stories that we were hearing in the town council meetings, I think kind of resonated with each of us. We're, for the most part, all fathers. We do have wives and children at home here who would be fearful if this were to go ahead and happen to us. So I take it from both standpoints, one being the resident that became a council person, and then somebody who wanted to essentially walk into the position kind of knowing where I stood. And with working with Michelle Matsakudis and Nancy Munoz, one of the ideas was to go ahead and directly address the juvenile offenders in this particular case. We have a lot of people that come from, let's say, Newark on Route 22, come to the area and do exactly the same things all of you have described already. They're either going between homes, taking cars, they are getting into accidents, there have been police chases. And we felt essentially that just drawing kind of the border around Westfield doesn't help the entire picture, that something had to kind of rise to the top, and we had to move that towards a state level. I think the police force here is doing a pretty darn good job in their, I guess, policing faculties. We do have LPRs, there are more on the way. There are some, I guess, state level issues that we have with getting these put up on certain poles in certain areas, and that delays this process. And anything that can be done to expedite that is always, of course, appreciated. One of the things that the police officers are doing, they're using running lights in town so that both the residents and also potential criminals, if they're around, know that there is a police presence, that they are being watched. The facilities that we have for the police department themselves can go ahead and track cars and have them in particular wards. So we're divided into 4 wards, 1 through 4. I happen to live in 3. But you can actually see how they're kind of coordinating themselves and being able to go ahead and cut off criminals if they were to go ahead and break in and then go ahead and get the key fobs and steal the cars. We did pass the resolution, which was mentioned earlier. I think as a whole, we're trying to work together towards this better common goal. But it has to be effective at the state level and potentially at the federal level as well. We can't go ahead and do everything that we need to do in town if we just put these persons in jail, or they show up at jail and then they're released the next day. And having sat with the chief as soon as we were elected, we did learn very specific circumstances where they were involved in pulling people over. They found out that they did have weapons on them. They were taken essentially away to jail, and they were released shortly afterwards. That's a big problem. I think that as a father, I would want to defend my home. And in some cases, that could be a weapon. I'll be honest, well, I have to do whatever I have to do to protect my children and so forth. If these are juveniles coming into the homes, I wouldn't want to have to hurt anybody first. And then second, definitely not a juvenile that's being put in these particular circumstances. So the bill A3806 really kind of addresses the juvenile component of this, giving them other opportunities later to go ahead and rehabilitate themselves, keeps them in school, keeps them busy. And like I said, I'm not a mayor, but as a council person, I do see that this needs to be directly addressed on that level, and then also stopping the gangs that are involved necessarily in Newark. Whoever is employing these younger juveniles to go ahead and commit these crimes.
Thank you, Councilman, for your insights and your perspective on that.
Thank
I'm
you.
now going to open this up for some questions. And if you raise your hand electronically, I will try to get to as many people I can in the next couple minutes before the closing of this roundtable. Let's see. First, let me see. Oh, I see Mayor of Warren County, Mayor Randy Piazza. What's your question?
Thank you, Congressman. Thank you for holding this roundtable. Phillipsburg obviously isn't unique in the troubles that we're experiencing. We are seeing a lot of the same problems everyone else is having, mostly the catalytic converter, airbag, lighting module theft seems to be the biggest area of concern. I think we're in a unique situation where we border a different state, and a lot of the times we're seeing I guess groups of people where they would come off of 22 or 78 in some of these towns. We're seeing them come across the border a little bit. Long term, do you see better communication even from state to state on a federal level to try to improve, I guess, cracking down on these groups of, it seems like juveniles, to coordinate better across state lines to crack down on these type of these operations?
Well, I think there are municipal, county, state level, and federal level solutions to the issues that people are addressing, including the cross state boundary lines, which is obviously a federal crime in that regard. If you're crossing state lines in conducting that crime. So there are those types of solutions, things like the Retail Thefts Act that I talked to you about a little bit on the catalytic converters and others, to help on both the communication as well as making sure that there are real penalties. Because as people have expressed on this call, sometimes if there's not both the information as well as the known penalty that's associated with a criminal act, we just need to make sure that the enforcement is stronger, that people have the tools necessary with the technologies to make sure they can identify some of these car thefts and these the car theft rings, as well as making sure that the catalytic converters and others are marked in ways that people can trace those things that are stolen. Thank you, Mayor. Next, I see it's Mayor Kara, Nick Kara of Raritan Borough in Somerset County. You there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, great. It's good to see you.
So you too. We had a council meeting on Tuesday, and I actually had a resident ask, what we were doing locally, what our, the county prosecutor's office was doing. And I had mentioned that, this roundtable was scheduled for later in the week, and he was curious, and honestly, I wasn't sure myself, but what are some, we had some break-ins in town. His neighbor had a catalytic converter stolen. And we're just wondering what federal policies can support and enhance the efforts of, our police department and the county departments as well in combating these crimes.
Well, there are a couple of approaches to this. Number one, we talked about in the last question with the previous mayor regarding the communications and making sure that people have the type of technology, but it's also reaching into my office. And so we can better understand the types of grant programs that may exist. As you know, we've had in the past, we were able to secure in the House funding bills public safety grants that will be coming forward, and we announced in the next couple of months the next round of grants to make sure they're the type of technology, the type of facilities that can help to make sure the police departments are better funded and have the type of resources necessary to do their job best, but also making sure that you are coordinating with this panel and many and the other at the federal and state level to make sure that on the state and the federal, county, and municipal levels that the communication is happening, that people understand that we need to have an enforcement of the laws if when people are violating them, if there are improvements of law that is necessary on both the federal level and state level. That type of communication in getting to me is extraordinarily helpful, as well as to the other levels of government. Thank you, Mayor. I see next Mayor Muller of Adam Muller of Reddington and Hunterdon County. Is that you?
How you doing, Congressman? Thanks for
Hey, good.
hosting
How are
this
you?
today. Appreciate it. Earlier this month, there was an armed robbery in Newark that resulted in a high-speed chase down Route 78 where the vehicle stopped and six suspects fled on foot right here in Reddington. There was a multi-agency manhunt and all six suspects were ultimately arrested and a firearm was recovered. It was a pretty intense couple of hours in Reddington, having a bunch of bad guys running through the backyards of residents here in Reddington. My question here is, how do you plan to ensure that the federal resources are being utilized efficiently and transparently in support of local crime prevention initiatives?
Well, Mayor, the first thing is we need to make sure that the Department of Justice does offer funding for training, for assistance, for research, and for victims of crimes and programs that improve the criminal, civil, and juvenile justice system, and making sure that database is as accurate as possible and that you have the types of access to that information, those grants. The COPS programs are used for hiring officers. That's another way to make sure that the right types of resources are going there. I mean, the COPS program awarded the New Jersey Department of Law and Public Safety about $3.7 million as part of the Anti-Heroin Task Force program award. So those are things that help with developing police strategies and funding solutions. The Office of Justice programs also offers support. So such various those types of programs for people in focused on awards for a variety of public safety and law enforcement programs. And those are the ways that once we understand how to best manage those funds and get that data out, contacting my office directly to understand the grants and what data is out there, and allow us to help you through the grant process as a way to make sure this data is there, that we can help you. Thank you, Mayor. And now we have a question from Hopatcon in Sussex County. Mayor Marie Galante, are you there?
Yes, I am, Congressman. Thank you. Thank you again for holding this roundtable. Hopatcon is the northernmost town in Sussex County, and we border Mount Arlington and Roxbury, which is Morris County, but we also border Byram and Sparta and Stanhope, which is still Sussex County. But the unique thing about Hopatcon is that we're only 4 miles away from Route 80. So our problem that we do have here is the thefts of catalytic converters and also with home break-ins. Under our police chief that we have, Megan McCluskey, we do have an awesome police force that is out there and is engaged and is very aware of what the problem is that's going on. But unfortunately, that just doesn't seem to be enough. So my question, Congressman, is can you provide information on any federal grants or funding opportunities that are available to support the initiatives aimed at reducing crime and improving public safety in our areas?
Well, certainly. I think there are a number of bills that have to be passed between the Parts Act, which is the one that focuses on making sure that you can have both preventative measures and identification on catalytic converters so that people know across state lines and across municipal lines whether they are receiving stolen property. I think the things that Governor Murphy recently signed into law is very helpful, as Sheriff Brown has mentioned, and as well as new pieces of legislation to make sure that we have a coordinated approach on these things. I think it's extraordinarily important that the data is shared and that we continue to focus on the next steps. So making sure that we have the data, getting the grants. Not only we have very specific grants that come from the federal level. Some are competitive and some are not competitive, and making sure that when you in your community or in any police force applies for any grant, please let my office know, because then we can help identify that for you. Okay, now we have I see the chief of the Mountainside Police. I think I see you have your hand raised. Can you identify yourself and what's your question?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sure. I just want to say that we were been made aware that there is a law on the state level that possibly would prevent anybody from being prosecuted who is under the age of 14. That's something that's still rolling around out there on the state legislator level. And these are things that, need to be addressed in addition to, I believe one of the other mayors spoke about, the inability to pursue vehicles in the past, which has been changed, but oftentimes there's a lot of directives and things that we receive that kind of tie our hands with this problem that aren't so much out in the public. Also, when these pursuits do go bad, the police officers are held more accountable for it than the person who has failed to stop. The police officer has to go to a grand jury hearing if somebody is killed during the pursuit, which is really not by their hand, but really by the person refusing to stop. And these are things that are out there that are still affecting us, and affecting the morale of the police officers.
Well, thank you. It's important we protect the immunity of our police officers as they're taking on these difficult and challenging duties. And also, as you're talking about on the state level, we have to currently make sure that the laws are kept up to date to protect our citizens and our homes and our neighbors and the businesses in the downtown communities. And so those are things that need to be best addressed at the municipal as well as at the county and state level. And then I will partner with the people on this phone call and throughout the 95 towns and across the 6 counties to make sure that we have the best possible information from the Department of Justice, best possible help from the federal level, so we can pursue policies that better protect not only the communities but also the people who are sacrificing so much to protect them every day and every night. Thank you all for joining us. If you have further questions, I know please reach out directly at 908-507-3307. Thank you so much for your time today.